perspective because it keeps me grateful.
Yeah.
It keeps life exciting. And when I do go through the valleys and the hard things, whether it's with kids or with family or with health or with, mental, whatever it is, it's like I've proven to myself, I've been through some storms. I can weather this one. And then if I get to the point where it's like, man, oh, woe is me, I'm working with people all the time that would trade problems with me in a second. But see, the soul has no identity. The ego does, right? The soul has gifts. And I stumbled into my gift and got to do it, which is a real blessing. If you can find passion and bring it into your profession, it's not work anymore. You know what I'm saying? There's purpose. You want passion in your life, find purpose in what you do. Be mindful. I don't care what it is. Find purpose in it, and it becomes a calling. Roots was an artist, and nobody saw him. Like, did you hear that? Nobody saw him. All they saw was the outside. They just saw the broken branch. They didn't see the beauty inside, which is the good stuff in every single one of us. And when I find out that you've got a story, like you've been through some stuff, the world might look less at you. In my book, it's like, no, my respect goes way up when I know you've been through some stuff.
Hey, Power Peace. We're here today sitting with Kit Cummings, the founder of the Power Peace podcast, the founder of Power Peace Project, the founder of Power Peace Productions. It's a whole lot of power of pieces. So it's a lot of pieces in the piece. Anyway, we're sitting here today, and today we are going to talk about some really cool things, right? We're going to talk about some funny stories. We're going to talk about some crazy stories you guys have had a chance to learn a lot about, not only the Power Peace Project, but you guys had an opportunity to learn a lot about the Cummings family. Well, how did we get there? Well, it all started with, you got to go back to the first episode. And when you watch the first episode, then you know how it all started. So if you are just now logging in and you never watched, go back to the first episode, start with the first episode, The Drunken Fallen Preacher. And man, I'm telling you, you're going to be in for something. And then we'll move to the second episode and just binge watch it over, the next couple of weeks, and stay tuned for what we're doing. But anyway, my name's Mike Upshaw. I'm sitting here with the man, I won't say the myth, but the legend, Mr. Kit Cummings. All right. And so nothing that he does is mythical, amen. But he's performed a lot of miracles through the work. And so we're going to talk a little bit about that. And like I said, we're going to have a little fun. You see 3 books sitting in front of us. The New Convict Code is one. Protect the Dream is the other. And Peace Behind the Wire is the third book. And he's working on a couple other books as well. So when you get a chance, go to kitcummings.com and you can purchase any one of those books on Amazon. You can go to Amazon directly, or you can go to kitcummings.com or thepowerpeaceproject.com. And if you're interested or you have a topic that you want to share with us, reach out, put a comment below and do that. Or you can go to thepowerpeacepodcast.com. There's a form, fill that form out, and then just contact us. All right. So I think I did enough promoting. I do want to say, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Make sure you comment. Comments are very important. We want to make sure we start moving this content through on YouTube. And because it's a lot of good content that we're bringing. We just did an episode that you should go back and watch that was really good. And it talked about suicide. So you're going to find out real quick that we can get really deep, right? But at the same time, we can have a lot of fun. And so today is going to be probably a little bit of both. We don't know. We're just going to kick it off. But I am here with the man. And so I'm going to ask him a couple of questions. And so he's going to answer those questions, and then we'll see where it goes. And 45 minutes later, we'll see where we land the plane. So, Kit, we've talked a lot about, you, your background. One of the things I was thinking about, I think it was on the episode when Gary was on, right? You guys were talking about different situations, and some of them were quite funny. So I started thinking about like some of the funny, maybe scary stories that, you've encountered through your walk, because there's not a lot of people out there like you. And what I mean by that is there are people that serve in the ministry that go to prisons. There are people that serve and go to schools and work with the youth. But typically, there's not a lot of people that go to both, right? And dealing with, a younger mindset, older mindset, an incarcerated mindset, like these are all different areas of people that you encounter, and you encounter them from all walks of life. So surely in those times, you've had some crazy, funny moments. Some of them may have been scary, maybe not so scary, but funny. But, you know, I know you've had some time that you spent in Tijuana. You know, Tijuana is being a Marine. All the guys used to go to Tijuana to hang out, even though you weren't supposed to go there. I was one of those guys that didn't go. Because, you know, I value my liberty. I never wanted to get caught, right, going where I wasn't supposed to go. But talk a little bit about that. You know, how did you even get access into TJ?
Yeah. So first of all, it's good to do this show with you, man. You used to be behind the camera all the time.
Yeah.
And then we just kept pulling you up.
Yeah.
So now we got this crew. We thought it was just going to be me and a podcast, but now we got a whole team, which is fun. But yeah, this crazy journey, you can't script it.
Yeah.
I mean, life is like that. It's like you might think you know kind of where you're headed.
Yeah.
And life's going to do its thing. And you know, if you live a life by faith and really follow the master,
yeah,
it's not boring.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying?
That's
I mean,
true.
I was a pastor for a lot of years and I loved it. But to be quite honest, a lot of it was sitting in an office, counseling people, sitting in meetings, talking about growing a church, planning sermons, and I loved it. But it was like I didn't have a clue, you know, what the plan was.
Yeah.
And then life comes. So anyway, yeah, the other episodes talked about the, you know, kind of my rise and public fall and then come back and the prayer that led me there. But yeah, I'm so blessed to have gotten to and still get to see humanity.
Yeah.
Like I wish everybody could do that because it gives you such perspective to actually spend time in a third world country, to see Africa, you know, to see Asia, to explore Latin America. And I'm blessed to have been able to do that. And I love it. I get to work with kids. And so Tijuana was very instrumental. So all I knew, there was a guy out and he's become a dear friend. His name's Jeff Wadstrom. I guess he followed my work on Facebook.
Okay.
He started working down in Tijuana and he developed this club called Letix Sports, and they work with the boys and girls of Tijuana, which are at great risk, man. I mean, they are poor and they're just ripe for the picking for the cartels. I mean, because the little boys are potential soldiers. And they'll put money, you know, they'll do a lot of things to recruit those kids to grow up to, you know, to do what they do. And then the girls are kidnapped at alarming rates. Just, I mean, girls can't walk down the street. This is Tijuana back in the day, like what you were talking about, was kind of a party place. You go down there and just kind of let go. And nowadays, nobody goes down there. I mean, it's a danger. Our government says, don't go down there. You know, it's just a cartel war ground. It's a beautiful place. 1.7 million people crammed in a city, you know, that, you know, think about Atlanta, what metro area is 5 million, 3 million in the city.
Yeah.
And we have, if we have 350, 400 homicides in a year would be like crisis, like fire some people. They have 2,500 homicides a year with 1.7 million. And those are the ones we know about. People get disappeared all the time. So I don't know if that number's double that, but it's like that. It's a war-torn city, beautiful people, and I've been embraced. So I went out. No, Jeff hits me up, and he's a stranger at the time. We kind of know of each other over the years through ministry, and even though he's on the West Coast, and he says, hey, there's a prison in Tijuana, and I heard you do prisons. Would you be willing to come? Because a lot of the boys I'm working with, they have fathers that are in prison. Yeah. And I'm like, I go where I'm invited. And especially if it's a prison I am in. You know what I'm saying? I mean, South African prisons were wild. Zulu warriors dancing and singing. You know, Ukrainian was a whole different type of prison. Honduran prisons are like wild, wild west. But Mexican prisons, that's something I always want to do. So I said, say when. I flew out there not having a clue, you know, what it was going to, what God was going to do. The first time I went down there, and it was pretty cool because I ended up going every month for over a year. I would go out there for 5 days at a time. And so I'd fly into San Diego. My buddy Jeff lives in a cool area, very nice. And so I'd stay at their house. It turned out I had a room I had my own room.
Wow.
It got to be where, and this is a new Fred. He got a wife, he got kids. And I'm getting up in the morning and I'm walking in the morning, going, getting my coffee, going back into my room. And it's just like I lived there for, 5 days every month. And so we would go down in there 4 or 5 days in a row. And it really, when I say Wild Wild West, it was a trip. Nobody looks like me down there, and nobody looks like you down there. And certainly, and I had long hair at the time, and I'm tatted up. I'm big, white, loud American, tats and long hair and everything that, I can't stand out.
So you was a red Camaro driving 120 miles an hour on the interstate, and they could just see you, right?
Like that. And so we know now that the cartels, they run everything, and they got people everywhere. So when somebody comes in looking like me, what do you think they thought I was?
Thought you was like part of the agency.
Oh, yeah. DEA, CIA, some letters, you know what I'm saying? ICE, maybe.
Right.
And I'm just a guy, and I got roots with me. And so anyway, go and do the prison. 5,000 men in this prison. Wow. And it's like what you're thinking. It's just this packed. Cartels run it. I'll give you a little history. In 2008, the 5,000 men in that place, they took over the prison.
Wow.
And they held it for 30 days. They had to bring in, the federales came in, brought in tanks. I mean, the prison was set on fire. I know the guy who set the fire.
Oh, wow.
And actually a pretty good dude. He's out now, but anyway, it's like, it's just this whole nother world. And so I got invited in there. First thing I do is, I can't remember what they call the wardens down there, but dude that runs, I can't remember. He gave me a tour, and I said, let me go meet some of the guys. And so there's 10 cells in this long row, and it's kind of like where they put some of the tougher customers in a Mexican prison. And they got there's 10 to 15 in a cell.
Wow.
And there's only bed space for about 6 or 8. And so there's a bucket, there's food comes, they just bring it. This is where they live. Wow. And it's hardcore. You're staring at some dudes that are just looking back at you. Well, I kind of got crazy and decided I was going to do this thing. And so I started at the first cell. And I was like, hey, my name's Kid. I'm going to be coming here. We're doing this program. I don't know if you're going to be chosen, but it's called The Power of Peace. And I have a translator.
Yeah.
His name's Jesus. So
okay.
I got Jesus with me. And he's done. So it's this cool rhythm that happens when you're doing that. It's like, ba, 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 ba. And then your guy is like, da, 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 da. And it's like this dance, right?
Yeah.
You probably preached like that before.
That's funny.
And so I just get this wild hair and I'm like, all right, here's what we're going to do. I got somebody tell me, paz es mi poder. It's like, peace is my power is the closest that we could get to the power of peace, right?
Gotcha.
And so I said, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to say 1, 2, 3. And I want you to say, paz es mi poder. I want you to say it. I want you to throw up peace signs. These dudes are looking at me. And so the first one, I'm like, ready, 1, 2, 3. And they're like, paz es mi poder. They're like, whatever. And I'm like, that was pretty good. But man, hey, look for me because I only got a little bit. So I go to the next cell because the next cell is listening.
Right.
And I'm like, all right, guys, you heard that. But man, that sucked. Did you hear that? It's like, that was kind of weak. Come on, this is for real men. And and so they're like, so this one's got a little more juice to it. It's like, paz es mi poder. I'm like, all right, well, I'll see you. Look for me. I'm coming back. And I go to the next one. Now they've heard it.
Right.
And so I'm like, come on, dude. You can beat that. That's like, that's like girls, man. Let's do this.
Yeah.
And so, so every cell, it got louder until I get down to the end. I'm like, are y'all ready for this? 1, 2, 3, and they're like, "Boss, that's me, poder." And these, just soldiers, and I'm like, yeah, and I'm making fun of each cell.
Right.
So they're all riled up, and so I got taken back by the commandant. I don't remember what he's called, commander or something. And his partner looks at me and he goes, "Hey, they're not allowed to yell." So I'm like, I just stirred. That was my initial impression into the thing. So, we got the crazy gringo that's coming. So we took one of my books and translated into Spanish, and we got 50 guys.
Wow. Which book was that?
That was 40 days to freedom.
Okay.
Okay. And so they gave me 50 guys, and they just come roll in. They got us out in a block outside with a tent, and they don't know why I'm there. They come in gray, and they're just sitting at this, watching this guy, and we start rolling, and the magic happens, just like it happens. So it's 8 weeks basically, and they went through the book and they loved it. Wow. I mean, they became like family. It was amazing. And it showed me, wow, there's power in this thing. So that was a long intro into your question, wasn't it? But I had to give them a little background.
That was good. So talk about the van.
The actual van.
Yeah. So there's another funny story, but I thought that was hilarious. Like the first cell is like really quiet because they like, first of all, is this a trick? You trying to trap us into yelling, and then we're gonna get in some kind of trouble. I'm
in trouble before I even start. That's my reputation. He's gonna cause some trouble.
So but anyway, let's talk about the van.
And this one is featured in the New Convict Code. There's a lot of stories in the New Convict Code and Peace Behind the Wire. So I go down there 40 times, like over a period of 12 months, right?
Yeah.
So I'm in and out of Tijuana. And first time it was kind of, whoa, this is kind of edgy. This is a little, I ain't done this before because the border's, the border, good Lord, it's all over the news all the time. And then the third time, fifth time, 10th time, 15 times, 20 times down, it's just like, let's go to TJ. And so my partner, Jeff, he had a pass, so he could go. He dropped me off. I go. Well, no, you can get in. We drive through. It ain't hard to get into Mexico. It's hard to get out.
Get out, yeah.
And so, but then we're coming out. He's got a pass, so he dropped me off at the biggest border crossing in the world, San Ysidro.
Oh wow!
Now you think about how valuable that property is to the cartels that run it.
Yeah.
Tijuana cartel was the Ariana brothers. Now it's this new, the new generation. This the young cartel that's just tearing stuff up. And so it's all during that climate where there's this war between, the young guys who are trying to take over Tijuana and then the brothers that hold it, everything. So anyway, he would drop me off and I'd have to wait and go through that border. And it got to just be a pain in the butt. It wasn't like interesting anymore. And I had gotten, this is important, I'd gotten way too comfortable in a place you should not be comfortable. Okay, now I teach kids about that. You get, whatever you do long enough, your brain normalizes it. And so I'm just like, all right. But I know there's eyeballs on me all the time. They know where our car's going. They know where we're at. We have to start working with the cartels to make sure they provide us, protection. And so he drops me off. He takes off. And all of a sudden this day, it's just super packed. And I'm like, oh, bro, it's going to take me forever. So I get him up on, text him. I said, bro, I'm stuck, man. I ain't getting out. And we have a dinner in San Diego, and a business dinner that's pretty important. And so he goes, okay, just catch a taxi down to Otay. It's about 30 minutes east. It's a smaller crossing. I'll meet you there. I'm like, bet. And so I come up out of the tunnel, and like, I stand out. But now I'm looking for a taxi. So imagine the guy looking like me. It's kind of like, I'm looking around, and everybody like, what does that look like?
Right.
Just a mark. And all of a sudden there's this dude comes walking toward me, and I catch eyes with him, and he catch eyes with me. And I said, are you a taxi? And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, no, really, you taxi. I need a taxi. And he goes, yeah, bro. And I said, I need to get to Otay. Can you take me to Otay? And he goes, yeah, bro, we'll get you across. And I said, I don't need to get across. I need to get to Otay. Will you take me? And he goes, yeah, bro, we'll get you. Come on, come with us. And so I walk up out. Now his partner rolls in next to me.
Yeah.
And so we walk up out of the tunnel. We go around this little, this little wall, and sitting up on this little hill is this white panel van.
Oh, wow.
I look at the white panel van. It ain't got no taxi written on it or anything. And I said, is that a taxi? And he goes, yeah, bro, we got you. And so I'm like, all right. So, I mean, this is me. I mean, it's the story of me. I'm just, situational awareness.
Yeah, none at all.
Not that great. I've learned a lot since then. But anyway, so I walk up, and first he has a hard time getting the door open.
Right.
All right. So I'm waiting. And so he finally wrestles the door open. I jump in, close it. They jump in. We start rolling. All of a sudden I look around and I'm like, this doesn't look like a taxi. It's just like, it's a shabby white panel van. Think about all the movies where bad things happen with white panel van.
Yeah.
And so these guys are all uptight. And so we get up to the main drag, and Otai is to the left,
Right.
and they're trying to get in traffic, and they're irate. They're cussing at the thing, trying to get in, finally get out, and they take a right. And I'm like, And so they pull in this little store, and they turn around. They want me to go get some money. And okay, so this is if we go a little biblical twist on this.
Yeah.
You know, there's promises in there. It's like Jesus told the brothers, you know, when you're on trial,
Right.
don't worry about what to say.
Yeah.
The Spirit will give you the words to say. Now, when does a preacher really need that?
Right.
You know, it's like in a sermon, he gave me a new idea. The Spirit, you know, this is one of those times where it's like, snap, and they said, you know, you get some money. And I said, and then what happens, I said, I can't. And they looked at me and it's like, yeah, you can. And I said, I can't. And they said, why? Which is an interesting question.
Right.
Now, these guys were coyotes. Okay, coyotes are the ones that hustle people across, right? For money. Yeah. Well, they wanted to give me money and get across. And so I said, I can't. And they said, why? And this is the words that came out of my mouth. I said, because it's not fair. And they looked at me, and it was just kind of like, I mean, what do you say to that? And so I kept talking, and I said, it's not fair. I said, you guys told me you were going to take me at Otai. You didn't. You told me this was a taxi. It's not. You said you were taxi drivers. You aren't. And then I just appealed to them, and I said, I know you're honorable men. I can tell. I mean, y'all are honorable. I said, you know this isn't right. Take me to Otai, and I will give you some money. But no, this isn't right. And they didn't move. And I was like, you got to let me out of this van. And they didn't do anything. And then so I reach over and I try to get out, and I can't get out. And I'm like, and then I used a few choice words. I'm not gonna lie. I was like, you got to let me out of this van.
Right.
And then one of them just gets out, comes, wrestles the door open, opens it. I get out, and I don't run, but I walk with purpose, you know, to a car that says taxi on it. Yeah. I go over, and they follow me. So it's like, why did they let me out? I don't know. And so I go to the guy, and I, let me in. The dude won't let me in because I got two hustlers behind me. And finally he lets me in. He's pissed. And they get in front of the thing, and they're yelling at that dude because they're taking their business away. And then we take off. He didn't talk to me the whole way to Otai. And so I got with my guy down there. He's a former national soccer player, and now he works with the kids. He's the one that does leg sports. And through a translator, they said, why did they let him go? And he looked and he said, because they think he's crazy. They didn't want a crazy dude. So anyway, there's a story.
So that's crazy. So as you in this van and you driving up, because I mean, you know, some sense of common sense, right? You almost sort of knew that it wasn't really a taxi, right? But when they made that turn, what was like the first thing that went through your head when they was making that turn? Like when they went the opposite direction of where you're supposed to be going.
I got. That's everything. Yeah. What I said.
Yeah.
Is like, I got. I mean, you know, you think about it. It's like, Father got. Because they'll kidnap people,
right,
and sell them. You know what I'm saying? So it's not necessarily going to kill you, but they'll sell you.
Right.
And so I was like, dang, I just got. But as soon as I got in that taxi, I hit Cole up. Yeah. Everybody knows Cole, who's typically one of our co-hosts. And I just said, guess what just happened? Da, 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 da. I mean, I was kind of amped up. And so it was like, yeah, I guess I had more situational awareness. Yeah. But I'm the dude down in one of the roughest parts of Tijuana that's, you know, going up to these walls where they said stay away from, with graffiti all over them. I'm getting, you know, photo ops and everything, and they're sweeping me up and get me out of there because the dudes are, there's people in that neighborhood. They're like, what is the white boy doing? Who is he and why is he here? Subtract.
That's crazy. All right. So, I just think about when you're around places that you actually are from or comfortable with. And sometimes those not even the best places to be, to be at. But when you completely out of your element, but I think sometimes that speaks to somewhat being naive to a degree. Actually, probably benefits the work, right? Because you see people as who they are, and what I mean by that is who they could be, not necessarily what they become, right? Yeah. And so, I think God has given you a special lens, and He's protected you, obviously through that. But because I'm drawing back on the story with you and Gary in New York, and so it's one of those things. It's kind of like, man, how many times has Kit actually been through these situations, right? So
it is though. And there is power in this. Now, don't do it the way that I do it, but it wasn't a strategy.
Yeah.
I was just in a point in my life where I was so fascinated and so excited to be in these prisons.
Yeah.
And working with the least of these is what Jesus calls, the people that are looked down on. If you treat, the way that I believe is that the one who is at the lowest level of life, let's say the death row inmate, you don't get much lower than that. I figure he needs the most respect because he never gets it.
Right.
And if I give him that, it's like, I'm going to trust you. I'm going to respect you. Just like those hustlers in the van. It's like, I know you're an honorable man. Well, that did something to them.
Yeah.
But I don't know. The other person has a hard time. They don't see you as a threat, especially if they don't feel fear.
Right.
See, when we look down on somebody and we start acting fearfully and carefully, well, what that does is it wakes something up in them. Even if they don't know it, it's like, oh, you think I'm a threat?
Right.
Okay. Well, now predator prey. But it's like, no, man, I love you, dude. I'm fascinated.
So let me ask you this question. Was that because now it's somewhat sort of prophetic now? So was that before Roots or after Roots?
Down there?
Roots. Did you have Roots with you at the time?
This is Roots. He's my partner.
There we go.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I did. This 2016, Roots and I started running together in 2013.
Okay. So, and the reason why I bring that up is because the story behind Roots is that it was given to you for protection. Right. And so I say that to say that, and now I'm thinking about, Moses and the staff and, and I can get real deep on it, so I won't. But I say that because in the preparation of your work, right, you meet somebody who sees you and sees the value in you and sees the value in what you do, that he takes his time and then he puts this together for you and then gives it to you because of what he sees. Now, you often tell the story about Roots and what he saw as the broken branch, but what Roots turned into. But when I hear the story, what I hear is what he saw in you that was valuable enough to be protected, to give you something that would help you as you go along within your work. And I think that's why I'm going to let you share the story of Roots, but I want you to share the story of how many times you lost Roots and you were able to recover it, because these are, it's significant, I believe. Like, let's talk about the airport situation, because that's one of those things like, man, you ever left something in the airport, like a bag, and never found it again? Let's talk about Roots in the airport.
Yeah. I mean, Roots is an extension of me, and it's crazy because, and people that, he's a celebrity, you know what I'm saying? There's magic. I mean, at least the student athletes, they think that he's got this mojo. I mean, he's won 3 championship rings. You understand? Now, he didn't win them, but they touched him coming out of the tunnel and things like that. But, he's with me all the time. And it was that beautiful homeless brother. His name was Roots, who he gave it to me. And it was a broken branch that he saw the potential in the branch, that it could be a beautiful thing and protection for me. And it became symbolic of potential and peace. And so, it's just kind of cool. But we've been all over together, and it's easy just to kind of, I don't know, you can lose him sometimes. And I'm telling you, I've said this, I don't like, my wife doesn't want to hear it, but it's like, I'd die for him.
Yeah.
Like, try to take Roots. I'll trade.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Which is crazy. And like taking my arm. And so I'm in LA and getting off the plane, and I go through and I leave the airport, get my rent a car. I'm already on the way to the hotel. And then I'm like, I felt that before. It's like, Roots, where's the Roots? And I'm like, where could I have left him, man? There's no on the plane. And so I was like, maybe the bathroom. It's got to be the bathroom. So LAX, I've been there.
Yeah.
But it's not like you have the dang place memorized. I'm already way out. So I turn the car around. I call my mom and I call my wife. I mean, I'm I like roots. You know, I mean,
Right.
I'm hurt.
Yeah.
And they're like, settle down. Maybe you find him. So I went back, parked, went back into LAX, baggage claim, tracked my way back and tried to find the bathroom that I went in before I left. And I went in there and the stall and everything, and my heart just fell. I'm like, dang, he's not here. And so I said, well, I'll try Lost and Found.
Wow.
And so I go to Lost and Found down at the bottom of the place. And I walk in and I said, man, have you found this and this and this? And he goes, nah, I don't think so. And I said, can you go back and check? And he said, all right. And so he walks back and he comes walking out with him.
Wow.
And somebody had gone in that bathroom, saw it, and goes, somebody really cares about that thing.
Wow.
I left him in the forest one time, in the middle of nowhere, went back and found him. I left him in a field in a place I've never even been before, drove an hour home and went, same thing. Had to drive back and find a field in the middle of nowhere. I like walking in the woods and fields when I'm traveling. And so, yeah, he keeps coming back to me.
Wow. And this week you left him with me for the last 7 days.
Now, the funny thing is, I've never gotten in trouble for this, is I take him into prison.
Yeah.
It's a stick.
Yeah.
Okay. It could be a weapon.
Right.
All right. The whole reason he gave it to me is so I got something to swing if somebody's coming at me.
There you go.
And I use it as a talking stick.
Yeah.
So I'll be in a ring of tough people.
Yeah.
And it's like only one person talking at a time. And a lot of times they're cross talking and these are just gangsters. And so I'll take it and I'll take Roots and I'll throw it to him and say, your turn. And they catch it. And I'm given this weapon, in prisons. And, the guards never have been pissed off. Wow. They never stopped me. So,
man, that's so cool. You think about the work, and for many of you who may be watching who have supported the work, and some of you that's watching may be trying to figure out how you can support the work. You can go to kitcummings.com or you can go to thepowerpeaceproject.com. You can, take time to donate. But man, I'm telling you, it's been, I think we've known each other now for about, maybe 3 years, 4 years, something like that. Yeah. So, it's definitely, so it's actually probably been about 5 years.
Coming up on 5. Probably.
Yeah. So, but the interesting thing about that is, from the time that we met, and having known you for the period of time that I have, the consistency. So I've heard you, talk about bipolar disorder. I've heard you talk about, all the things that you've, kind of struggled with and, hearing Cole's story. But man, I've, and we've talked and prayed and different things like that. But I've honestly can say that I've never seen you in a down moment. And I think, it's always something, the next thing, like what good is happening, what good is coming out, of the organization and the things that you guys are doing and what we've been able to do together. And it's been a beautiful thing to watch. And so, I think a lot of times, and maybe somebody's watching this podcast and, you're trying to figure out, what your next step is. And maybe as you move into 2024, you're making some goals and plans and looking at what those things are like and hadn't quite found it. And I'm going somewhere with what I'm saying. When you listen to the story, Kit found himself at a place where it was time to start a new chapter. And in starting that new chapter, Roots became a part of that story. And so when we think about, the things that are out there that can seem so insignificant to somebody else, it becomes very valuable to us. You just heard him say, man, this one I'll die for, right? Because it's not just a branch to you, and you've seen the power of God work through you with Roots.
Yeah.
And so, as you said, man, we won state championships. We've done these things because Roots has become an inspiration to others, because I believe it's the power possessed by the person who holds the staff. Moses could not have parted the Red Sea if he didn't have the power to do it. God said to him, what's in your hand? Every time you walk in through prison, hallways, the DJJ, wherever you go, the schools, and you take Roots, Roots is not as powerful in anybody else's hand. That's why Roots belongs to you. I spent the week with Roots, and each time that I looked at Roots, I put them in the back of the truck just in case we saw each other and I would be able to give Roots to you. And my wife said, you know, did you, she said, move the stick because you don't want it to, you know, break or anything. I said, oh, that's Roots. She said, I know who it is. But I'm telling you that many of us possess the power to do things, but we don't always put all the pieces together. Okay. And I've watched you put those pieces together and have seen the impact of the work through the Power Peace Project. And so that being said, let's talk about this next thing, the cycle under the stairs. We're going to get light because I was getting ready to get heavy. But let's talk about the cycle under the stairs. What's that all about?
Oh, man, it's a beautiful story. So the most broken people, you said you've never caught me in a down place. Obviously, we get there.
Yeah.
I'm blessed because pretty much every day I got to get in front of people.
Yeah.
You can't I have to rally. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? It's just like, can't phone it in and say, I'm just not feeling up to it today, which is a blessing in my work. I'm not sitting in a cubicle because in my head, I couldn't. God bless people that are out there doing that.
Yeah.
That's not me. So anyway, and the people that I get to work with are fascinating. And I'm telling you, there is such power in brokenness.
Yeah.
And poverty. I mean, I've said it. I'd much rather hang out with a bunch of poor folks than rich folks because it's much more interesting.
Yeah.
It's like the conversation, the characters. So anyway.
So that's pretentious.
That's true. Less ego. I mean, there's so much. And so anyway, I get invited to go serve on death row in Alabama. Alabama prison system stuff.
Yeah.
And they got, death penalties rolling down there. And so they've got a place called Holman, which is where, the executions take place. And that's where all the beds are. It seems like there's 180 beds. I don't know how many are filled. But then they got this very interesting prison called Donaldson in Bessemer.
Yeah.
And they do prisons in the middle of nowhere, obviously. And this one is old. It looks kind of like a castle. It's been there forever. And so I went in, started working with the brothers, great. But then we had a chance to go to death row. And I always want to do that.
Wow.
And I've gotten to do that, pretty good little bit in a couple different states. But, and so I was excited. I don't know where that came from.
Yeah.
I don't think you can manufacture it, but it's like, I get excited when it's going to be something I've never done, and kind of the edgier, the better. You mentioned the whole, bipolar situation, right? That we talk a lot about. I inherited it and I passed it on too. But there's a aspect of it where every idea seems like a good one.
Yeah. And
you're 10 feet tall and bulletproof. So I know a lot of my great work has been those two things. Ooh, let's do that.
Right.
And I don't think about necessarily the risks or whatever. But anyway, so this one, they have 24 cells, and it's set in a block that's away from all the general population.
And these are 24 death row
24 death row cells.
Wow.
And 12 on top, 12 on the bottom, a common shower in the middle, and some tables. And it's dark and it's dank and it doesn't smell good. And bees get in there and ants, and I mean it's death row. And but what's interesting about this one is the warden there allows the brothers to come out and spend like 4 to 6 hours a day playing cards, hanging out, which is so much. If a guy's got to be on the road, then let him have some, camaraderie.
Yeah.
And because every other thing I've seen is that you're in your cell 8 by 10 all day, every day, an hour in the cage, 3 showers a week, period, point blank. Waiting on a call you never want to come. It takes about 20 years to kill a man. 3 appeals, 4 or 5 years each, and then all of a sudden, it's coming. And so this is my first day. So it's like, man, it's like Disneyland. You know what I'm saying? We get in there, and all the brothers on death row in Alabama wear white. And so they're all out. And so there's 22 of them. One cell's empty because they had an execution the week before. And one cell, they don't let that dude out because he thinks he's God. And he starts, pronouncing judgments. And so God bless him. And the rest of them are out. And so I'm mingling around. There's a little group of volunteers with us. And all of a sudden this brother bounces up to me. And his name's Donald. Okay. But they call him Psycho. He's got a bald head, happens to be a brother of less color. And he's got some tattoos on his face. And he doesn't have a lot of teeth left, tell you the truth. Not a lot of good dental care going on there. And he's a shifty brother. One of these guys is moving kind of fast. He's like that. And he gets way too close to your personal space. So it's like, I can smell his breath. And which is interesting little concept. Some people think that prisons probably smell real bad.
Yeah.
If you're a prisoner in a prison and you allow yourself to smell bad, it will not go well for you. It's one of the nicest smelling people you ever meet.
Yeah.
It's like everybody, that's a weird thought, but it's everybody keeps himself pretty clean. So anyway, you don't do a lot of things in there that happen in the free world. You know what I'm saying? That might make people uncomfortable. And so anyway, he comes up and I'm like, what's up, man? He's like, hey, Mr. Kid. And he said, hey, can I talk to you? And I'm like, yeah. I said, what you got? He goes, I don't want to talk to you right here. I want to talk to you over there. And I'm like, okay. And so I'm following Donald, the double murderer, over to a place of his choosing. And so we go around the corner and we're up under these stairs.
Yeah.
And it's dark under the stairs. And he goes up under the stairs. I follow him back there. And so we're sitting there. And he's way too close to me, for one thing. And he wants to talk, and I'm kind of looking to see if any of the witnesses can see me. And he said, first of all, I want to tell you this. He said, I did what I did. He's not one of these guys that said he didn't do it.
Right.
And what's coming to me, I deserve it. He said, I just want to get right with God before they take me.
Wow.
And all of a sudden, his lip starts quivering, and a little teardrop starts. And he did. He had teardrop tattoos. I know it's kind of, what you hear, but he did. And the teardrop, kind of goes over his teardrop tattoos. And it's a moment, right?
Yeah.
And he said, I got a question for you, preacher. And he gets real serious. And I'm like, what is it? And he said, and now he starts to cry.
Wow.
And he said, can your God save a man like me? Now, this is a theological question.
Yeah.
That if you think about it, it is the question that humans wrestle with. If there is a God, am I going to be with him in the good place or not me? Because we all feel less than, if we're honest.
Yeah.
Ain't none of us clean. But here's a guy that's done the unthinkable, and he's waiting on that phone call, and he asked that question. Now, I didn't learn the answer to this question in seminary.
Yeah.
All those years leading churches, we didn't study this one.
Yeah.
And but the answer just leapt out of me. And I was like, yes. And he looked at me and kind of in disbelief. He said, how do you know? And I said, because he saved a drunken fallen preacher like me.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because I don't see it a lot different. I let a lot of people down. I hurt a lot of people's faith.
Yeah.
And I've got a beautiful jewelry box that is in my office. My office is like a showroom of all these beautiful things that I've found or gotten or received over the years on this journey. And it sits proudly up on a shelf in my office. He made it just for me.
Wow.
And he's still alive. Wow. I've lost a couple of guys on that road, but Donald's still alive, and I want to go back and see him. They haven't let me the last couple of times, but
wow, man, that's powerful. We think about the journey of life and the decisions that we make, and I think one of the key parts of that story is the fact that he said, "I'm accountable." And I think when we look at salvation, that's exactly what Jesus does. Is the moment that we accept him, we become accountable to the fact that we're sinners.
Yeah.
And he died for our sins. And I think as we look at it from the perspective of, regardless of what it is that somebody has done, like you said, like, because he saved me, right? I think sometimes we find it hard to forgive people based off of what they've done, but not considering what Jesus did for them. I think the key is that we find ourselves in a place that oftentimes are peculiar when people ask these type of questions, because what they want to be is redeemed. Yeah. That's what they want to be. They want to be redeemed. He pulled you into a place, and all he was concerned about was redemption. Mm-hmm. And I think that through the work that you do, that's somebody that's on death row. Let's think about it. You're not getting out. You already know what the end of your life is going to be. for most of us, we don't know tomorrow what's going to happen. You have people that's roaming free world and making decisions and choices with their lives. But at the end of the day, you have people, no matter how bad, whatever it is that they may have done, some just haven't got caught yet.
Yeah.
But at the core, it's another human being. And the work led you to that place for that day, for that person to be able to reach them. So what does that mean to you? Like, when you see the impact, and I'm just talking about reflecting over all the places that you've been, looking at all the doors that's been open, what led you to those doors? Like, your fall picked you up.
Yeah.
And so when you reflect and you think about it, what hits you most? Like right there, like when, day to day, you already talked about, man, I got to go out, this is what I'm doing. But what's that thing that moves you and you go, man, because you couldn't have done that on your own.
Mm-mm. Yeah, there's certain things that you'll discover that he's done, and you go, whoa, he changed me. I love that. It's like, he says in Acts 3, it says that he grants us repentance.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And brings time of refreshing. So like repentance is a gift.
Yeah.
And so, we white knuckle it and I want to change and this thing's holding me up and man, this is my thorn and to call a brother, you got to help me, bro. I'm struggling. But then sometimes God just does for you what you can't do for yourself.
Yeah.
And then if we never put ourselves in position, uncomfortable situations, things I've never done before, things that are hard for me, you don't know what you're made out of. Man. If you live this safe, comfortable life, and God bless you if you're a church goer, Bible believing, miracles happen outside of the church, man. Yeah. It's like ministry, is different than religion. Religion is measurable. Ministry's not.
Yeah.
Religion's comfortable. Jesus is not.
Yeah.
It's clean and it's tidy in the church. Outside is Wild Wild West.
Yeah.
And so if we don't get around people that expose us to new things, then we don't learn what we've got. That a lot of times he's done great work in us.
Yeah.
We don't know it because we haven't gotten out and put it in position. And so, what comes to mind is this was a prison in Georgia. Now, I went in as clergy, and it was a weekend event, and it's called Kairos, which is very cool. If anybody wants to if you feel called to check out prison ministry, Kairos is a good way to go. Okay. At least to start. So anyway, I'm clergy, which means that anytime during the weekend, if a brother needs to get time with clergy, then we have a few of us that are tapped to do that. And so a brother came up and said, I need time. He went to the dude and said, I need time with clergy. They got me. We went off to a place by ourselves in this gym over where, we're by ourselves. And he begins to cry. And there's so much inside of these men.
Yeah.
You can't just put them in a box. They've done bad things. 5% of them hadn't done what they're in there for.
Right.
All right. 1 out of 20. Anyway, he starts to cry and he starts to share with me his sickness, and it's hard to talk about. He hurts kids.
Wow.
Okay. And he's doing a lot of time and he said, I don't want to be this way. And every time they let me go, it gets me again. And I'm like, wow, who gets to hear this?
Yeah.
Up close and personal.
Yeah.
And I'm just listening to him. And he's basically, will you pray for me? I want to be broken. I want to be free from this.
Yeah.
I don't want to do this. I hate myself. And all of us wrestle with something on that level. I mean, this is the worst of the worst. I mean, hurting children, my God. Now, what's interesting is I was hurt.
Yeah.
When I was a young teen, I was tricked, by a pedophile that worked his thing. And it's like, it was over time and it was abuse. And until finally I was just like, you break away. It was a coach.
Yeah.
I was a kid and I trusted him. And I got to the point where I looked up to him and it's like, I wanted to please him. He was a big, strong dude. He was training me for basketball. And then he did his thing, and it's like he got me.
Wow.
And so I've got that background.
Yeah.
And here I am 40 years later,
Yeah.
whatever it was. And I'm holding hands with a dude that's doing maximum security time for that.
Yeah.
He's crying and I'm praying for him. And I start to cry.
Wow.
And when I say it did not occur to me that I was holding hands with a dude that was like the dude that hurt me, it didn't. I was just feeling him. And I was like, this guy's in torture. He's in terrible torture. And so I pleaded with God, to release him and set him free. I don't know what happened with that brother.
Wow.
I know it was a powerful moment. We hugged. And it was later that I went, my God.
Yeah.
That was pure love. And I wasn't in the way of it by being afraid or uncomfortable or angry or bitter toward, how dare you. It was just like, that is only God that can heal us like that.
Man, and the level of, again, forgiveness, because, there's a level of shame that, all these things, right?
Tons of it.
And how God will have you confront something in your life at a different stage in your life, but to be able to deal with it because of what he, again, empowered you to do.
Sure.
All right, we're going to close. And that was heavy. And we can get deep, man. And I don't want to get deep on this one. Too much more deep. Anyway,
we said we were gonna laugh.
Yeah, and so
we'll tell a funny one.
Yeah, so this one is a funny one. We're gonna close with this, and then I'm gonna give final thoughts and comments to the man whose show it is, right? But Kit was sharing this with me before we started recording. And when I heard this, I was like, "Oh my goodness, man! I've heard a lot of crazy things. Running with the bulls. All of these different things in Spain that I've seen and I laugh at. But this one is called convict poker. Is that what it is? Okay, convict poker. So I'm gonna let Kit sort of tell this story about convict poker, and this is at Angola. And man, if he would have said Mexico, I probably would have said, okay, this could be, possible. But if I'm not mistaken, Angola is in Louisiana, correct?
Correct.
Yeah, so I definitely wouldn't have thought that it was there. But go ahead and tell us about the convict poker game.
Okay. I got to go to Angola. Angola, the biggest prison in the United States.
Yeah.
6,200 men. Okay. Over 5,000 of them doing life without. Okay. Yeah. In Louisiana, if you get a life sentence, there is no parole.
Yeah.
Okay. And I don't think all the other states, you get like a life sentence is 30 years in Georgia, but then you're eligible for parole at 30 years. Well, there, they call it all day long. All right. So if you get sent to the farm, is what it's called, it's 18,000 acres.
Yeah.
It was a former plantation. It's 3 borders is the Mississippi River, and the rest of it is so far away from anything that if you get out, they ain't nowhere to go.
Yeah.
And they've got 20 bloodhounds and 1 certified wolf. I mean, the dude's got a head that big. I've pet the wolf.
Wow.
And they have a whole kennel. So if you did get out, they're going to round you up.
Yeah.
Right? So ain't nobody trying to get out. But I mean, they produce.
They got guards on horses, right?
Oh yeah. They got inmates on horses.
Wow.
Okay, so it's this huge compound. You drive your car into the prison, right? Because it's this plantation. They produce corn, soy, cattle. I mean, it's amazing. It's a working farm. They operate in the black. They sell these things on. So you might have a detail, a guy doing a life sentence, and he's catfishing all day.
Wow,
that's pretty good time. Yeah. You got to do time. Some are on horses. But a guy named Burl came into that. It was known as the bloodiest prison in the world. That's just what it was known as. And he came in and he said, I'm bringing Jesus into this prison. And the state said, you can't do that. And he goes, okay, I'm doing it. And all these years later, he's kind of like got 2 sides to the prison. There's one where if you're a trustee, well, there's probably 1,000 of them, 20% are trustees. You do the best time you can do.
Yeah.
They have 9 freestanding churches on the grounds.
Oh, wow.
Baptist church. I'm talking about steeple. And brothers can go to church. They've got New Orleans Baptist Theological Seminary, Nobits. They operate in there where brother can get a ministry degree. And if you do that, you can be a pastor. And they treat the brother like they're all wearing denim in Angola. But it's like pastor, elders. I know a dude's been there 50 years. He's an elder.
Wow.
Mr. Starks. I hope he's still alive. He's real old. But it's an amazing place. So if you want to do good time and he trusts you, he goes, you can do good time. If you want to be a knucklehead, we got another place for y'all.
Right.
And so it's another part of prison where it's a hard time. So anyway, somewhere along the line, this was forever ago. Seems like it was the 60s or maybe 70s. They started doing rodeos at Angola.
Okay.
And they ended up building a big coliseum that, I mean, I don't know, 2,000-3,000 people, where free world people come in. You buy tickets and you go to the prison rodeo, and you got brothers that compete in the rodeo.
Wow.
And it's not just this goofy, I mean, it's real rodeo. You got the rodeo guy who's on the thing. You got all these, they'll have the horse and barrels. You'll have the calf roping. You have, I can't say that part. And it's just like, it is live, man. And but there's two events that's known for, and I read about this before I saw it, and I said there's no way this could be true. So I went in, did the thing, worked with brothers, and then I took one of my interns, and we went to the Angola rodeo.
Yeah.
And I'm like, these are serious cowboys. They're not just like goofy, prisoners trying to ride a horse. And so there's convict poker.
Okay.
And here's what this is. Okay. They take 4 brothers. They're wearing blue and white stripes.
Yeah.
Okay. And there's a poker table, a red table in the middle of the rodeo ring. Okay.
Wow.
Now, red, that's for some reason, bulls, they don't like red. Right? I don't know why. Somebody else Google it. And so you've got a 2,000-pound Brahman bull. And I'm talking about, it's not like in the rodeos where they saw off the horns.
Right, yeah.
No, this is straight up 5-foot-long horns with points on them. And they're poking him, pissing him off, just like a rodeo, right? In the bull riding, they want to be mad. Now, don't be mad at me if you're an animal rights person. I didn't design it. And so anyway, these 4 brothers, they're playing poker, or they're pretending to play poker. Now, they got kind of like it's almost like a bulletproof vest, kind of a little bit of padding, and then they've got a helmet that's kind of like if you're a boxer or whatever, or some kind of thing. So there's a little bit of protection. Okay, the game is when they open the stall, and that bull comes out, the crowd starts roaring.
Wow.
Okay, so it's like, this is gonna be interesting. And the bull started kind of snorting and doing what they do, like in the cartoons. It's like they really do that, where he's getting wound up. And he's like, somebody is in my ring. And he makes a run. The game is the last brother sitting that doesn't bail gets $600 cash. Okay, in a prison, that's not bad. Okay, the brothers do a lot of things for $600, believe it or not. And so the first time I saw it, I'm like, there's no way this is going to happen. This is going to be horrible, but certainly it can't be like this. That bull gets up a freaking head of steam. I mean, and when he hits that table, you'd be amazed how high that human beings can fly. And there's one brother that he buckles in and he just gets, boom. I mean, sometimes they're knocked out and they bring a little stretcher out. You got the little cowboys, the clowns, coming there and run him off. And everybody's like, it's like they're all fired up. That's a motivation.
Wow.
Now, you think about it. There's a lot of principles in that. It's like, how bad you want what you want.
Yeah.
What do you want to do to get what you want?
Yeah.
I mean, these are principles that it's like, man, how bad do you want it? And so the crescendo at the end is, I'd heard about this one too. About 50 brothers get out in the ring. Okay. And there's a bull. This is a different bull, just as big, just as bad. And they have tied a red medallion to his forehead in between his horns. And they're poking him, getting him all riled up. And there's all these brothers out there. Okay, the game is when they open the stall and release this bull, whoever gets that medallion wins $600 cash.
Wow.
Okay. Now, it's like he runs into the crowd and there's bodies flying and it's just this pile of dust and humanity and you don't know what's going on. All of a sudden the bull runs out and everybody's like, and then he turns around and starts snorting. He runs back into the fray and his brother's flying around and they're all trying to get this red medallion because it's as much about pride as it is the $600.
$600,
Well, they got on and they said, Brother Johnson, 15-time winner of the competition. He's got a 50-1 odd, to win, to get this medallion. And doggone it, if all of a sudden Brother Johnson didn't come running out of the thing with that medallion,
Yeah.
it's like he had figured out a way. There's another principle in this. It's like you got to have a strategy. And
Yeah.
that dude had been doing it for so long. He knew, what to look for. He knew the bull. He knew people that would do the total wrong, strategy. And he got that thing.
Wow.
So anyway, that's a
man, that's an amazing story. And you think about, like, one, the level of respect that you got to have for somebody who is willing to sit at a table and let a bull charge into him.
Yeah.
Two, somebody who's willing to, go the distance with a bull and take this medallion off of him. But as you were talking about with the principles, and I'll let you close here. But before I do want to just take a moment to say, hey, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. This is great content, and there's more great content going to be coming this year. But we are just, excited about all the things that the Power Peace Project will be doing, and what the Power Peace Project has done already. But it's because of your help. And so go ahead and visit thepowerpeaceproject.com, hit that donation button, and donate, and continue to support the work. You are being introduced to the inside of places that you'll never go. And hopefully you'll never go, never have to see, but you'll also understand the work that's being done. So make sure you comment, like this video, and send it to somebody else. Share it so that way we can continue to grow the positive messages that are coming out of the Power Peace Project. So give them 3 principles just based off of the stories that we shared today. Maybe there's somebody out there that's watching right now, and they've heard those things. They've been trying to stick to it. They're ready to give up. They don't know what the next thing is. Give them 3 principles to kind of get them through that next phase.
Yeah. One is, and this is a mantra that I started working on myself and taught my kids when they were young.
Yeah.
And it's so simple. It was, I can do very hard things. I can do very hard things. And a lot of it has to do with the voice in the head, the self-talk, which is so important. I mean, if we could imagine if we could tap in and hear people's self-talk today.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's like, Merry Christmas. And then they get in their car and imagine what's going on in their head. We don't see what's going on in the other person's head.
That's true.
And so things can be so overwhelming. And we've talked about on that show and the holidays are hard. You know what I'm saying? I mean, there's a lot of things get brought up in us, and then they're in our head. And I've realized that not that I can do very hard things. Going into a prison, I mean, it's not hard.
Yeah.
It's exciting, or it can be scary or dangerous or whatever. But it's like I can push myself through things that other people won't do.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like I'm not only am I not better than anybody else, I'm the worst.
Yeah.
I believe that I'm the worst sinner. You know what I'm saying? I'm God's favorite knucklehead. But I've found out that, man, I can go through things that I didn't realize I could go through.
Yeah.
But I didn't know that till I was tested. And we get tested, and we find we can determine the quality of our work.
Yeah.
Paul said that. And so I just want to encourage you out there, if you not if, but when, or right now, if you're going through something tough, it's amazing what human beings are capable of enduring.
Yeah.
I mean, the indomitable human spirit. But it's more the people that I work with. And some of you might be thinking, what does Power Peace do? Is this dude with a stick just run around getting in adventures? Why should I? No. We've got programs in the schools for the kids that are going through very hard things. We've got programs in the juvenile courts for these kids that are stuck in really serious trouble. We got programs in detention.
Yeah.
And if you don't think these stories don't give me street cred with these kids, I mean, that might be the whole deal about why, because they love these stories, but there's principles behind all of them. And I mean, these kids are heroes to me because I'm like, they're tough kids, man. They've been through so much.
Yeah.
And it gives me perspective because it keeps me grateful.
Yeah.
It keeps life exciting. And when I do go through the valleys and the hard things, whether it's with kids or with family or with health or with, mental, whatever it is, it's like I've proven to myself, I've been through some storms. I can weather this one. And then if I get to the point where it's like, man, oh, woe is me, I'm working with people all the time that would trade problems with me in a second.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So that helps me stay grateful. The second thing would be, we can't see what's going on inside somebody by just looking at the cover. I don't care if it's a cartel soldier in Tijuana that's been demonized, and then you get to know that brother and you find out that he didn't ask for this.
Yeah.
I mean, cartels aren't asking, would you like to help us? It's
Right.
like, no, they're going to force cops to get dirty because they're going to go and, have their family hostage, go to you and say, take the money. No, I'm not like that. Okay, well, then we're going to execute all your family right now.
Yeah.
All I got to do is make the call. They take the money. Now another corrupt cop.
Yeah.
That's why supposedly half. We don't know what that kid has been through. We don't know what's inside of Donald/Psycho's head.
Yeah.
That he's dying for redemption. He's fighting for his faith. And so I would encourage you today, in the countless people you're going to run into, some of them are going to get on your last nerve.
Yeah.
Some of them are going to just bring up something inside of you that's not good. People are mean to one another out there. You don't know what that person's going through.
Yeah.
They're going through something very hard. If they're acting like that to you and you're a stranger and they're snapping at you or shooting you the bird or angry in traffic, or maybe they're just the meanest person in your office, that's the person that needs the most love.
Yeah.
That's the person that you don't know if they're home, coming home after a long day's work, and they have an elderly parent living in a guest suite with Alzheimer's. You don't know if they have a special needs child and they're heroic because they work all day long and then they're going to stay up all night, trying to take care of someone who might be mentally ill or someone who's going through. You might have a spouse that's dying of cancer.
Yeah.
Ain't nobody advertising that at office.
Right.
And you think that person's, man, I don't like that person because they're this and this and this. You don't know what they're going home to. You don't know if a brother's, is fighting for his life because of his addiction.
Yeah.
And he's drinking every night, to stop the pain. And then he's muscling up in the morning, going into the fray, fighting that traffic, sitting in that cube and having to put on a happy face. And he don't do it very well.
Yeah.
He's mean. And so, we can do very hard things. You don't know what's going on inside the other person.
Yeah.
And you don't know, I guess the last one is what a little bit of kindness can do for another person.
Yeah.
You just don't know. I mean, there's people that are following on Facebook, and we look at all these other lives, and they're all happy, shiny lives, and everybody's preparing for Christmas, and everybody's son is at Harvard, and it's like everybody's having a cocktail on another cruise, and it's like it's showing me everything that's not going right in my life. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And kindness is underrated in today's world. I mean, Dalai Lama said, kindness is my religion.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean kindness just to the people you like.
Right.
Kindness to the cool people, the nice people, the talented people, the famous people. I'll be kind. Ooh, I get to meet a celebrity. No, kindness is when you show some love to someone that we feel like, maybe doesn't deserve it, which that doesn't even sound right. But you feel what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So just especially this time of the year, be kind to somebody.
Yeah.
You don't know what they're going through. And if you need some kindness, man, I don't know, it's hard, but reach out to somebody, over the holidays. It's a lonely time.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's so true. And being kind doesn't cost you anything.
Nothing.
And so folks, there you have it. You watching the Power of Peace podcast with Kit Cummings and Mike Upshaw. It's been a pleasure. Thank you for spending this time with us. Remember to share it, like it, comment, and we look forward to seeing you in the next year.
But see, the soul has no identity. The ego does, right? The soul has gifts, and I stumbled into my gift and got to do it, which is a real blessing. If you can find passion and bring it into your profession, it's not work anymore. You know what I'm saying? There's purpose. You want passion in your life, find purpose in what you do. Be mindful. I don't care what it is. Find purpose in it, and it becomes a calling. Roots was an artist, and nobody saw him. Like, did you hear that? Nobody saw him. All they saw was the outside. They just saw the broken branch. They didn't see the beauty inside, which is the good stuff in every single one of us. And when I find out that you've got a story, like you've been through some stuff, the world might look less at you. In my book, it's like, no, my respect goes way up when I know you've been through some stuff. If I want to go into battle with somebody, you think I want some little cupcake youth pastor? No disrespect to youth pastors. I'm just saying, I don't want that little soft dude. I want somebody who's been through some wars, man. Let's go. We'll ride together. You know what I'm saying? It was a branch in the top of a 100-year-old oak tree, downtown Atlanta. And I don't know if it was a storm or if it was a lightning strike or an axe, but something brought this branch, knocked it out of its life purpose. And in the amount of time it took to fall from the sky to the ground, it became trash. Because that's what we do with broken branches. I mean, we got great big old oak trees, and I don't go out in the yard and go, a treasure, another one. You know, it's like, no, you just get them all piled up and you put them aside. And yet, so this is a nasty branch laying on the road. And everybody else saw trash, but not Roots. Roots saw it for what it could be, potential. It was the branch that would become an instrument of peace and a symbol of potential that would go on a world tour. Now, I lost my brother Roots on December 27th, 2020. And he had gotten a place, and he had gotten a little job, and he had gotten a scooter. And on December 27th, 2020, he was riding home on his scooter from his job, and a drunk driver hit him and killed him. Now, what's interesting is my sobriety date is December 27th, 2005. So we're forever connected. But then I got this, and he has no idea the people he's inspired with his hustle, with his special gift. You have one too.